next to you, Starstruck, and Adrienette, famous fake-dating apartment neighbors, alternate universe, fanfiction, chapter 17. When Adrien pushes in the door, a familiar chime rings. It sounds a bit odd. The bell has been rusting for the past couple of years, but it is one of the most comforting sounds for her. Her parents are standing behind the counter with smiles so wide they looked ready to explode. They clearly want to welcome her home and welcome Adrien into their arms, but were too shocked to do so. Marinette giggles to herself. At least she isn't the only one to freeze up in her family when something overwhelming happens. Marinette leads Adrien into the bakery, into the very front counter where her parents are silently squealing at. "Mom? Dad?" Marinette says, giving him a warning look. She's teasing them about their reaction, and they know it. Her grin is all they need to see. "This is Adrien, my boyfriend," she says, motioning to him like she was on one of those game shows with letters behind a screen, and she had to present him to an audience who could very much see them without her help. Her father looks so pleased with himself, and her mother's eyes are flickering between her and Adrien. "I wanted to meet him. I wanted to bring him so you could all meet," Marinette finishes. Adrien shyly waves his hand, and there is a sweet and shy smile on his face. "Adrien!" her father's voice booms. He reaches his arms over the counter and hugs Adrien with no warning. There is a worried expression on the latter's face for just a second before he melts into the hug. Both men look pretty close to tears. "Welcome to the family bakery, my boy," her father says, releasing Adrien. They're both smiling like dorks, and Marinette now understands the joke of girls finding boyfriends who were very similar to their father. "Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Dupain-chengs," Adrien says, politely. Her mom cuts him off with a twinkling laughter. "Oh, call us Sabine and Tom. You're family now," she says excitedly. Adrien's face lights up with joy, and he sends a look to Marinette that reads, "Is she being serious?" Marinette nods, and Adrien bounces towards her parents. "Family," he says in almost a dazed voice. His eyes are clouded with fulfilled dreams, and Marinette laughs a bit at his expense before nudging him out of said daze. Okay, I really like the bakery. I've always wanted to come in," he says eagerly. "Oh, that's great to hear, dear," her mom says. "Please look around and explore. Feel free to come in the back. It's a family business after all," she says with a wide grin. She and Marinette's father have opened their arms and hearts out for Adrien already. Adrien nods, and suddenly he's whipping around the place, staring at each little thing. He inspects the placements of cookies and decor that has been in the shop since Marinette had been a young girl. Marinette can't help but smile fondly at the boy who had gone from an angry, angsty teen fighting with his father to a curious cat boy intrigued by her childhood home. She's happy to see his day has really turned around, and even more so that she helped to make that happen. She watches as Adrien coos over a primary school drawing that Marinette made. She blushes as he calls her magical and talented, though she tries her best to hide it. Marinette feels a nudge on her arm and turns to see her mother, staring at her with a teasing but knowing look. Marinette flushes even harder, but nothing gets past her mom, not even her attempts to shield it. "What?" she whispers, and her mom chuckles. "Oh, nothing, just he seems very happy to be here, especially with you," her mom says idly. "He's a good one, though. I can already tell," she says in a low voice. Marinette smiles widely. She knew her parents would approve, but the confirmation is still nice. "He is. He's really good to me," Marinette tells her mom. It's especially nice because they were fake dating, not that her parents knew. He didn't have to be all sweet to her at their homes, but he still is. Adrien is a great person, and Marinette knows that she's lucky to have been stuck with him rather than a person who was a stuck-up snob like Chloe, who admittedly has good intentions but is very awful to be around and doesn't have the greatest execution. I really do like him, Marinette admits in a small voice. Her mother chuckles and just raises a brow as if to say, "Oh, I know you do." They both turn to giggle at Tom, who had ran from behind the counter to be next to Adrien, who was standing and staring at a display of macaroons. They are so similar, and in a hilarious way. You have always liked him, even when you were a little girl, her mom teases. Marinette giggles nervously. It is true, her mom pushes, and Marinette cries out for her to stop. I'm your mother. I can't stop poking fun at you, Sabine says with a mischievous smile. Sure, Marinette says, sassily sticking out her tongue. She may not be a teenager anymore, but she was forever one with her mom. Wow, this is like the best place ever, Adrien cries out. He appears in front of her with Tom next to him, who is glowing with pride. I can't believe you grew up here, he sighs. This is the dream. Marinette smiles and giggles a bit. Yeah, it is. It's smaller upstairs than most other people's houses, but it's nice and it's cozy, she says. Adrien nods fervently in agreement. Yeah, I think a smaller house is better anyways. Big houses, they have too much room for space, he sighs with a faraway look. Her parents look at him with confused expressions. Adrien jolts in surprise. Oh, sorry, that sounded a bit strange. I grew up in a really big house with my father, and he's not really a very tentative person. Most of my childhood was spent by myself, so I don't really like big places, Adrien admits sadly. Marinette's mom gasps in horror, and her father is in pure shock. Adrien sends a look to Marinette that looks nervous. Oh no, that is awful, her mother cries out. Sabine reaches a hand out to cradle Adrien's face. Marinette is just as surprised at Adrien at the action. But that was her mother. Anytime a person is in need of a maternal figure, she steps up. Sabine nor Tom are even fazed by Adrien's fame. Luckily, Marinette is very happy to know that they love him and don't care about his Hollywood status enough to be starstruck. You are such a good kid. Our home is always welcome for you, Sabine smiles at Adrien. He looks very close to tears. Marinette can only guess that he's choking them back. Tom agrees wholeheartedly and swings Adrien into another bear hug, much to Marinette's amusement. Your family now, Tom proclaims, and Sabine promises Adrien that is true. Wow, thank you. I can't thank you enough, Adrien chokes out. His eyes are shining and he meets Marinette's gaze. I knew meeting you was the best thing that ever happened to me, and it's not just because now I get to know your parents, he says seriously. Marinette's face flushes pink, and she tries to avoid her mother's amused expression pointed right at her. I have a family now, Adrien whispers with so much emotion in his voice. All thanks to you. Thank you. Truly, Marinette cannot begin to even fathom how Adrien feels. Having spent his entire life locked away in his house, away from other people, and now meeting people who welcome him with open arms and genuine hearts, it probably feels like being reborn. Marinette is happy to bring Adrien into her family so quickly, Even if they never do end up dating for real and have to tell her parents that they broke up, she knows that he'll always be around now. Marinette's willing to share her parents with Adrien so that he can know that he is loved and that he has parental figures to run to in any situation. Adrien is truly one of the kindest people she has ever met, and so caring too, and had been so good to her during this entire ordeal. This is just her repayment, a happy family for the happiness that he's brought her. Of course, Tom thunders with the goofiest grin on his face. You are our son already. I can only wait so long for the wedding, he teases. Papa, Marinette cries out, covering her reddening face. Her parents cackle, much to her annoyance. Adrien is less than fazed by the statement. Was the prospect of marriage a normal thing in his household growing up? Truly, the verdict was still out in the field. Okay, moving past that, she says, clumsily trying to shift the topic of conversation. Adrien, now that you're a part of the family, she can't help but giggle at the dreamy smile that graces his features by that statement. You're gonna come bake with us. Within seconds, all of the blood drains from Adrien's face, and he looks terrified. She knows why. Adrien has no idea how to bake. Considering his life story, it made sense, and he had explained to her his attempts of baking in the past. They had all ended up rather badly, and in lots and lots of smoke. He's probably worried that they'd be angry with him if he couldn't bake that well. Oh, don't give me that look. We're going to teach you how to bake. I'm not just going to throw you into the fire. There are 3 bakers in here. We're going to help you, she says with a laugh, poking his cheek. At once, Adrien relaxes. Okay, he says after taking a deep, calming breath. Actually, Marinette, you might have to teach him upstairs. I think a crowd is about to come in, Sabine says, looking at the clock. Indeed, the 3rd rush hour of the day is about to come in. Marinette nods and motions for Adrien to follow her to the stairs that led to their house above the bakery. Adrien very gingerly follows her to her childhood home. It's just as she remembered it to be. Adrien gasps excitedly and rushes to inspect all of the pictures on the walls or in frames. Marinette can't help but giggle fondly. Huh? Wow, you were so little, Adrien coos, holding up a picture frame really close to his face. Marinette gasps and lunges at him, trying to steal back the picture, but to no avail. What? No! It's cute, Adrien laughs, pulling it out of her arm's reach, but still looking up at it. Marinette huffs and pouts at him, but he doesn't let up. It's not that bad. How old were you? He asks with a teasing smile. You're awful, Marinette mutters. I think I was in maybe grade 4, give or take. She sighs in defeat. Adrien hums. You looked so cute, he says, and then looks back to her present day self. Just as much as now, he says with a mischievous smile. Marinette's cheeks flame, and she huffs away so he can't see the effect his words have on her. Ooh, is that your graduation picture? He cries out. Marinette turns to see Adrien pointing to one of the larger pictures hung onto the wall. Indeed, it is her high school graduation photo. She smiles, remembering that day. So many people had cried their eyes out, and she was no exception. Yeah, Marinette says, standing next to him. One of the best but most terrifying days of my life, she admits. Life as I knew it had totally changed. University was next, and I had no idea what to do without my family. I had to be by myself and figure out my own life. But then again, no more high school. That is one of the greatest feelings in the world. Public high school is literal torture, she says with a nostalgic laugh. But there was always a comfort in knowing what's happening. High school is something I'd never go back to, but I'm happy I went through, she hums. All the memories, she mutters under her breath. High school sounds fun, but I think I get what you mean about graduation day. That's how I felt the day I left. Everything that I knew was about to be gone. I could either stay and be safe, or go off on my own and find something better. I had no life experience, and I just impulsively did it. Clearly, it was the best choice of my life, Adrian says honestly. Adrienette smiles at him. Yeah, that's basically high school, she says with a slight laugh. Adrian turns towards the kitchen and calls over her shoulder. Now, do you want a bake or what? She teases him. Adrian laughs and follows her lead and leans onto the counter. What's the first step? Adrian, no! Adrienette laughs so hard that she can't even breathe. He's like a child in the kitchen, and it's quite endearing. She's trying to keep him from tasting all of the different ingredients, but it's really hard to convince him that no, you don't need to try raw flour all by itself. Adrienette really feels like she's babysitting. Stop, she wheezes. He spits out the flour and reaches for a glass of water, one that she'd given him about 3 ingredients before. Bad idea, he comments obviously, and Adrienette nearly falls to the ground. Adrian grins at her happily, and Adrienette almost wants to just keep letting him try the raw egg because at least he looks so excited and all. However, she doesn't and warns him of salmonella, because salmonella. Are you 5? Adrienette asks, gasping for air. Adrian smiles sheepishly. Never mind, come on. Let's mix this quickly, we can put it in the oven, and you finally can eat it correctly, she says, waving off his next words. Are we gonna make frosting? He asks her. She flickers her eyes at him and quirks an eyebrow up. Depends. Are you gonna eat the butter by the spoonful? She teases him. Adrian pouts at her adorably, but she turns away so he doesn't see her melt at the expression. Eventually, they put the cake in the oven. It looks, it looks a little bit lumpy, to be totally honest, but Adrian looked so proud of himself. Adrienette sighs a bit, feeling like this is one of the best things that she's ever done with Adrian, or perhaps in her entire life. It was truly chaotic. Adrian was being so silly the entire time and totally cracking her up. She's never been a messy baker per se, but right now the counters have a fair amount of butter, flour, and water splashed across it, but cleaning it off wouldn't be that big of a deal. She knew how to clean up after herself. Honestly, I was just doing it to make you laugh, Adrian admits to her as they're beating the powdered sugar and butter together to make buttercream for the cake. At first, I just wanted to try the vanilla to see if it tasted as good as it smelled, he said with a little laugh, and shakes his head. But you just laughed really hard, and I wanted to make you laugh again. Adrienette's heart leaps. Adrian was being all silly just to make her smile? You don't have to be an idiot to make me laugh, she says with a blushing smile. Yeah, but it worked, Adrian replies. Adrienette smiles up at him. There's a bit of sugar on his face. He had put in a little bit too much, a little too quickly. She knows that his hands are a little greasy from the butter, and it's kind of gross, and God, cleaning is going to be a whole ordeal, but she can't help but think that she has never, ever been happier.